Picture this. You check your bank account and it says $300. You just got paid, but somehow the money already feels like it's gone. Rent takes a chunk, groceries take another, and then there's just nothing left. So when someone says, just invest $100 a month, you almost laugh. $100 feels like nothing, like a rounding error in your monthly chaos. But here's the strange part nobody really tells you about that tiny number. That small, almost embarrassing amount of money can quietly become something enormous over time. Today, I want to show you exactly what happens when you actually do it. Most people think investing is only for those with extra money lying around. We picture investors as guys in suits, staring at screens full of numbers. So a regular person working 40 hours a week assumes investing isn't for them. That belief isn't stupid. It's actually a very human and very common mistake. We're taught to think big, dramatic decisions are what create real financial change. But real wealth rarely comes from one giant decision made in a single moment. It usually comes from something small, repeated quietly, long after motivation has faded. So let's slow down and actually look at what $100 can do. Let me tell you about someone named Sarah, a preschool teacher living in Ohio. Sarah made decent money, but rent, groceries, and student loans ate almost everything. She always told herself she'd start investing once she had more breathing room. But that breathing room never seemed to actually arrive, month after month after month. One night, a friend casually mentioned investing just $100 every single month. Sarah laughed and said that amount wouldn't make any real difference at all. Saving keeps you safe, but investing is what actually builds your financial life. That one question quietly stuck with Sarah for the rest of that week. So she opened an account and set up one small automatic monthly transfer. At first, nothing felt different, and honestly, the amount still felt embarrassingly small. But Sarah kept going, mostly because it required absolutely no ongoing daily effort. A few years later, she checked her account out of pure idle curiosity. She was genuinely shocked at how much that meaningless habit had actually grown. Sarah's story isn't unusual. It's actually incredibly common once someone finally just starts. The math works quietly in the background, whether or not you're paying attention. Let's say you open a simple investment account and set up an automatic transfer. Every single month, $100 quietly moves out of your checking account. You barely notice it, the same way you don't notice a phone bill. That money goes into the stock market, into a broad, diversified index fund. Historically, the stock market has returned around 7% a year after inflation. That's not a guarantee, but it's a reasonable long-term average based on history. Now, here's where most people's brains completely check out of the conversation. After 1 year, you've put in $1,200, and it feels small. After 5 years, you've invested $6,000, and it feels manageable. But something interesting starts happening quietly underneath those simple, boring monthly deposits. Your money isn't just sitting there. It's earning returns on top of returns. This is called compound interest, and honestly, it sounds more complicated than it is. Basically, your gains start generating their own gains year after year after year. After 20 years of investing $100 monthly, you've contributed $24,000. But at a 7% average return, your account could be worth far more. We're talking somewhere around $52,000, almost double what you actually put in. Give it 30 years and the number becomes genuinely hard for most people to believe. You'd have contributed $36,000, but the account could exceed $100,000. In some cases, depending on returns, it could pass $100,000 easily. That's not because you got lucky or found some secret trading strategy overnight. That's simply what happens when small, consistent action meets enough time to grow. This is the part most people miss when they dismiss small amounts of money. We're conditioned to think impact requires intensity, but consistency quietly beats intensity almost always. Now, some of you are probably thinking about market crashes and sudden losses. That fear is completely valid. Markets do drop, sometimes suddenly and quite sharply.
But here's something important that most fear-based headlines conveniently forget to mention.
Historically, the market has always recovered, even after its worst recorded crashes. When you invest monthly, you're actually buying at both high and low prices. This is called dollar cost averaging, and it quietly reduces the impact of timing. You don't need to predict the market, you just need to stay consistent. Another fear is comparison, watching someone online who seems to be doing better. Comparison is exhausting, and honestly, it rarely reflects someone's full financial reality anyway. Your journey with money doesn't need to look like anyone else's timeline whatsoever. One more fear worth naming is the feeling that it's simply already too late. Whether you're 22 or 45, the best time to start is always now. Time in the market matters more than trying to perfectly time your entry. Here's the real shift though, and it has almost nothing to do with math. The turning point isn't the money, it's how the habit changes your identity. Once you're investing consistently, you stop seeing yourself as someone who's bad with money. You start seeing yourself as someone building something, even if it's still small. That shift in identity changes how you make decisions in completely unrelated areas. Suddenly, impulse purchases feel less appealing because you have something quietly growing instead. You're not restricting yourself out of fear, you're protecting something you actually value. This is where money stops being about numbers and starts about peace. Financial peace isn't having millions. It's knowing you're not standing completely still anymore. It's the quiet relief of knowing future you is already being taken care of. There's something else worth mentioning that has nothing to do with growth charts. Financial stress is one of the leading causes of anxiety among working American adults. It affects sleep, relationships, focus at work, and even how families treat each other. Money stress doesn't stay contained. It quietly leaks into almost every part of life. When you're building something, even slowly, that underlying anxiety starts to soften slightly. You stop dreading every unexpected bill as if it's a personal financial disaster. You start feeling like you have a small cushion instead of standing on air. That psychological shift is honestly worth more than the actual dollar amount itself. So, how does someone actually start this without feeling overwhelmed or completely lost? You don't need thousands of dollars sitting around or some special financial background. Most brokerage platforms today let you start investing with an incredibly small amount. You can literally begin with $100 or even less than that. You simply need to keep showing up, even when prices feel uncomfortable. Automate the transfer so it happens without relying on willpower or motivation daily. Willpower fades, especially after a stressful week or an unexpected expense shows up. But automation quietly keeps working even when your motivation completely disappears for weeks. Before investing aggressively, it's worth having a small cushion for genuine emergencies first. This isn't about being extreme, it's simply about protecting the habit you're building. A sudden car repair shouldn't force you to abandon your investing habit completely. Even a few $100s set aside can prevent that kind of financial derailment. From there, let your monthly investment quietly run in the background of life. Choose a simple, broad index fund instead of chasing trends or hot stock tips. Boring, consistent investing almost always outperforms exciting, emotional decisions made under pressure or stress. You don't need to check your account every single day like it's a scoreboard. In fact, checking too often usually creates anxiety instead of clarity or confidence. Let the money sit. Let time do the quiet work in the background. This isn't about becoming rich overnight or retiring early in some dramatic way. It's about giving yourself options, breathing room, and a sense of real control. I know $100 can feel almost pointless in a world of rising costs. But money, like most things in life, responds to patience more than intensity. You're not trying to win overnight. You're trying to build something that lasts.
Every single deposit is a quiet vote for the person you're slowly becoming.
You won't feel different after 1 month. And honestly, that's completely normal too. But 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you might feel very different. You might feel calmer, more prepared, less afraid of unexpected financial surprises appearing suddenly.
I'm not saying money solves everything, because obviously that simply isn't true.
But financial stability gives you more room to breathe through life's harder moments. It gives you options when family needs help or when opportunities suddenly appear. It gives you the ability to say no to things that drain you. That kind of freedom starts small, often with something as ordinary as this. So, if you've been putting this off, consider this your gentle nudge forward. Open the account, set the transfer, and let time quietly do its work.
You're not trying to be perfect, you're just trying to be consistent instead.
Remember, this isn't a race against anyone else. It's simply your own path.
Small, steady steps taken consistently will always beat big steps taken occasionally.
$100 a month won't feel like much today, and that's okay. Years from now, you might look back and be genuinely grateful you started. Progress isn't loud, it isn't dramatic, and it rarely feels impressive in the moment. But progress, quietly repeated, becomes something that eventually feels almost impossible to believe. You don't need perfection, you just need to start, and then keep going. Thanks for spending this time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.